The calm before the storm. The Earth had always been a quiet place. It was a world full of life, color, and growth, but there was something strange about its peace. For centuries, humans had lived on their planet, never knowing how vast the universe truly was. They had no idea that other worlds existed, nor did they understand the dangers waiting beyond their atmosphere. The galaxy was filled with powerful alien civilizations, but Earth had no clue. For most of the galaxy, humanity was nothing more than an insignificant species. The other races had watched Earth for a long time, tracking the humans' progress. They saw humans fight among themselves, squabble over resources, and develop technology slowly. There was nothing special about them. They didn't have the power of the ancient civilizations in the galaxy or the advanced weaponry of the mighty species that ruled the stars. To the aliens, humanity was weak, fragile, and primitive. And that was exactly how Earth remained in their eyes, a planet of peaceful, quiet people who were not a threat. The alien empires, some with millions of years of history, had long since stopped worrying about Earth. They had more important things to think about. They were busy conquering star systems, expanding their empires, and building their dominance. Earth was far from their minds. They thought humanity was too small to even matter in the grand scheme of things. There was no reason to fear them. And so, they left Earth alone. There were no wars with humans, no fights for dominance, only silence. But that silence, that calm, was not the reality. Hidden beneath Earth's quiet surface, humanity was preparing. They were waiting, quietly, without anyone knowing. For years, Earth's leaders had been gathering knowledge, working on secret projects, and building the very thing that would change everything. And all the while, the alien empires continued to overlook them. There were whispers of strange things happening on Earth, things that didn't make sense. Occasionally, a mysterious transmission would come from Earth, but it was always dismissed as a mistake, a glitch, or an oddity. The aliens were too focused on their own conquests to even think about what could be happening on that small, seemingly unimportant planet. In truth, humanity had learned more than the galaxy gave them credit for. They had slowly been developing new technologies, discovering how to harness the power of the stars themselves. Quietly, they had built something enormous, a weapon that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. But the aliens had no idea what was coming. They thought they had all the time in the world to do what they wanted with Earth. On Earth, everyday life continued as normal. People lived their lives, going to work, raising families, and enjoying the peace they had always known. They were unaware of the forces building up around them, but the time was coming. Something was about to change. The aliens had been watching for years. They knew Earth was growing in its technological knowledge, but they still saw the humans as nothing more than ants in the grand scheme of the universe. Their weapons were crude, their ships primitive, and their understanding of space limited. Humanity was no threat. However, there was one thing the aliens couldn't see. Humanity's strength didn't lie in their advanced technology alone. It wasn't in the ships they built or the weapons they developed. The strength of humanity was in their willpower, their determination to fight, to survive, to overcome any obstacle, no matter the odds. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Every time humanity was pushed down, they rose up stronger. They didn't have the vast armies or advanced fleets the aliens had, but they had something far more dangerous, a heart that never gave up. And so, the aliens made their move. They had waited long enough. Earth's silence was taken as a sign of weakness, and they decided that now was the time to invade, to conquer, and to finally claim the planet as their own. The alien fleet, large and intimidating, made its way through the stars, headed straight for Earth. They were confident in their victory. It was going to be an easy conquest. The leaders of the alien fleet sent a simple message to Earth. They told the humans to surrender. The message was delivered with arrogance, as if the very idea of humans fighting back was laughable. The aliens had no fear of Earth's defenses, for they knew nothing of the power that was waiting to be unleashed. As the alien fleet approached Earth, the planet's inhabitants remained blissfully unaware. The governments and military forces on Earth had no idea that their entire existence was about to change. To the people on the ground, the sky remained peaceful. Birds flew, clouds drifted by, and life continued as it always had. The calm before the storm. But deep in the stars, a different story was unfolding. Deep in space, hidden from view, the Vengeance warship was waiting. The ship, a marvel of engineering and design, was built with one purpose: to defend humanity and strike back against anyone who thought they could conquer Earth. It was Earth's secret, and it was about to make its presence known. The moment the alien fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, they were greeted with nothing but silence. There was no response, no defense, no action taken. The aliens thought they had won, but they couldn't have been more wrong. The calm before the storm had lasted long enough. And when the warship of Vengeance finally emerged from the shadows, everything the aliens thought they knew about humanity would be shattered. The underestimated Earth, revealing the hidden strength. The alien fleet hovered above Earth like a dark storm cloud, casting an ominous shadow over the planet. It was impossible for them to understand the quiet pulse of life that continued below them. They couldn't hear the beat of humanity's heart as it gathered strength in secret. The fleet's commanders, accustomed to conquering worlds without challenge, didn't anticipate any resistance. For them, Earth was just another weak, defenseless planet in a galaxy full of stronger civilizations. They saw nothing extraordinary about it, until they would witness the true strength of humanity. Beneath the surface of the world, deep within the core of Earth's most hidden locations, a quiet revolution had been taking place for decades. Earth had been preparing, not just for war, but for survival. The human race had always been resilient, but this time they had gone far beyond simple survival instincts. They had been quietly designing a weapon that would shift the power dynamics of the entire galaxy. And that weapon wasn't just technology. It was something far more dangerous. The alien fleets, seeing Earth as a primitive species, believed their victory was all but guaranteed. They never bothered to understand the humans beyond what they had been shown. A race that had fought among themselves for control of their own planet, struggling to survive in a world full of chaos and conflict. They had no idea that Earth's greatest strength wasn't its technology, but its resolve. Humanity's unwavering will to fight against the odds was the true weapon they had underestimated. Long before the first alien ships had even begun their journey toward Earth, humanity's top scientists and military leaders had been laying the groundwork for a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They weren't just building weapons or designing ships. They were studying every enemy they could find in the stars, learning everything they could about the most powerful species in the galaxy. They learned how their technology worked, how their weapons fired, how their fleets maneuvered, and when the time came, they would use that knowledge against them. Not with brute force, but with the most unexpected weapon of all: human ingenuity. The humans didn't have the luxury of immense resources, but they had something far more powerful: creativity. They took what they had, what they could find, and built it into something formidable. No alien race had ever thought to look at Earth and see anything more than a fledgling species struggling to keep up with the technology of the stars. But that was their mistake. Earth's leaders understood that if the aliens ever attacked, they would need a defense that could do more than just hold them off. They needed a weapon capable of turning the tide of the entire galaxy. It was a risk, an enormous gamble, but they had no choice. They worked in secrecy, far from prying eyes. Deep within hidden military bases, under the cover of dense forests and mountains, humans poured their efforts into creating something so powerful, so secretive, that even the aliens could never have guessed it was possible. And that's when the Vengeance warship was born. Built using the combined knowledge of Earth's brightest minds and hidden technologies taken from across the stars, it was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Its size was colossal, its weapons powerful enough to tear apart entire fleets, and its technology far more advanced than what any species would have thought possible for a race like humanity. But the warship wasn't just about firepower. It was designed to embody the very spirit of Earth itself. The warship was built to reflect the heart and soul of the human race. Relentless, unyielding, and ready to strike back against those who would dare to challenge them. It was a weapon born not out of malice, but out of the desire to protect everything that Earth stood for: peace, family, hope, and the unbreakable bond that united humanity against all odds. As the alien fleet drew closer, they remained unaware of the storm brewing beneath them. The humans watched from their underground bases, calm and collected, knowing that the time for hiding was over. The first whispers of the alien ships reaching Earth's atmosphere began to spread, but the people on the surface had no idea what was about to happen. They went about their lives as usual, until the day the ground shook, and the skies began to darken. Far above, in the cold expanse of space, the Vengeance warship silently emerged from its deep space hiding place. It was massive, a true behemoth, its engines powering up with a low hum that reverberated through the silent void. The ship, designed to be invisible to enemy sensors, quietly crept toward the alien fleet. It wasn't like any of the alien ships. Its sleek, angular design was a far cry from the bulky, intimidating ships the aliens were accustomed to. It was fast, stealthy, and deadlier than anything the aliens had ever encountered. The moment the warship powered up its engines and moved into position, the first shockwave hit. The aliens, who had been waiting for the easy conquest of Earth, suddenly felt the first stirrings of fear. The warship was upon them, and they had no idea how to respond. They couldn't see it, couldn't detect it, and certainly couldn't understand it. Their sensors were useless. With a powerful burst of energy, the warship unleashed its first attack. In an instant, one of the alien dreadnoughts was torn apart, its massive hull splitting into pieces as the Vengeance warship fired its devastating weapons. The aliens were caught completely off guard. They thought Earth was just a weak little planet. But what they didn't know was that this human weapon was built to destroy them. The first few moments of the attack were chaos. The aliens scrambled, sending messages back to their fleet command, but they couldn't keep up with the sheer speed and power of the Vengeance warship. It was a ghost in the void, striking fast and hard, never giving the aliens a moment to react. The alien commanders were in a frenzy, realizing they had underestimated their enemy in ways they couldn't have imagined. And just like that, Earth's silent preparation was revealed to the galaxy. The Vengeance warship wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's answer to the universe's arrogance. The war had begun, and the aliens were about to learn that humans were not to be underestimated. The galaxy's reckoning, unleashing the fury of humanity. The alien fleet had not only underestimated the human race, they had never imagined the sheer scale of their wrath. The Vengeance warship was not just a weapon. It was a symbol, a declaration that Earth would never surrender. The first strike had shattered the calm, but it was only the beginning. As the alien fleet reeled from their initial shock, they scrambled to respond, but humanity was already one step ahead. High above Earth, the battle between the alien armada and the human-made warship escalated. The alien vessels, massive and designed for destruction, tried to regroup. They weren't accustomed to seeing a fight like this. Their ships were powerful, yes, but their greatest mistake was assuming their firepower alone could win a war. They had never faced a species as relentless as humanity, a species that had fought against itself for centuries and had survived the harshest of conditions. They had never fought against a species that could turn its greatest weaknesses into its most terrifying strengths. The Vengeance warship moved with deadly precision, its weapons slicing through alien shields like they were paper. The first few shots had been a test, a warning. Now there was no mercy. The ship unleashed its full power, sending beams of destructive energy that ripped through the heart of the alien fleet. The aliens, now realizing they were outmatched, attempted evasive maneuvers, but it was too late. The human warship had anticipated every move, every tactic. It was as if the ship knew them before they even thought about acting. From the command deck of the warship, humanity's top generals watched with cold determination. They had known the risks, the dangers of engaging the superior force, but they had also known that if they didn't act now, they would lose everything. Every human life, every city, every memory. Everything was at stake. They couldn't afford to back down. The warship's captain, a battle-hardened human commander named Captain Elijah Carter, stood before the massive holographic display. Her eyes were sharp, focused, and unwavering. She had spent years preparing for this moment. She had trained herself and her crew for every possible scenario, from the most brutal to the most unlikely. Now, everything they had worked for was coming to fruition. And despite the odds, despite the alien fleet that towered over them, she wasn't afraid. "We're not just defending Earth," Captain Carter said, her voice low but full of conviction. "We're showing the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity." Her crew stood in silent agreement. The Vengeance warship wasn't just a tool of war. It was the culmination of everything humanity had learned, every mistake they had made, every lesson they had taken from their past conflicts. The aliens might have thought they were fighting a primitive species, but they had no idea what was coming for them. As the battle raged on, humanity's fleet, though smaller, was rapidly growing in strength. The Vengeance warship wasn't alone anymore. The human forces had made contact with allies from across the galaxy, beings who had once viewed Earth as insignificant, but had now seen the true power of its people. With each victory, new ships arrived from every corner of the galaxy, joining the fight. No longer was Earth isolated, fighting alone. Humanity had sparked a chain reaction, a movement that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. But it wasn't just the ship's firepower that caused the alien fleet to falter. It was humanity's determination. The aliens were used to battles fought for conquest, for power, and for control. But they hadn't prepared for a battle for survival. They hadn't prepared for the raw emotion that drove human soldiers, the drive to protect everything they held dear. The alien fleet didn't know it yet, but they were fighting against the very essence of what it meant to be human. A race that had fought against the impossible time and time again, and had always emerged victorious. The alien fleet commanders, now growing desperate, ordered their forces to regroup. They called for reinforcements, launching a barrage of counterattacks meant to overwhelm the human defenses. But Earth's warships were not standing still. They adapted, countered, and struck back harder. The Vengeance warship's shield systems, honed through years of secret research, absorbed and deflected the aliens' most powerful weapons with ease. Every move the aliens made seemed predictable, every attack was anticipated, and every counterattack fell short. The humans knew how to fight on a level the aliens couldn't comprehend. "Target their engines," Captain Carter ordered, her voice steady as she watched the holographic displays flicker with information. "Disable their fleet, break their will." It was not a call for mercy, but for precision. She wasn't just looking to destroy. She wanted to send a message. Humanity wasn't going to be a footnote in the galaxy anymore. Earth wasn't just a world. They were a force, a reckoning waiting to be unleashed. And the galaxy was about to learn the hard way that when humans fight, they fight not for conquest, but for survival and for the future. With a single command, the Vengeance warship unleashed its full arsenal. The enemy ships, now disoriented and scrambling to react, were overwhelmed. Powerful energy beams split their hulls, turning once proud ships into debris. The warship's railguns, designed to deliver devastating blows, fired relentlessly, cutting through alien defenses like they were made of paper. Alien ships exploded in fiery balls of light, their once pristine hulls breaking apart under the sheer force of human firepower. The alien fleet had no idea how to respond. Their numbers dwindled, their ships crumbled, and their resolve began to crack. The Warship of Vengeance was not just a symbol of human power, it was a symbol of the fury of Earth, a fury that had been building for centuries, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike. And now, that moment had arrived. Humanity had struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the final alien ships were forced to retreat, Captain Carter's eyes softened for just a moment. It wasn't joy or triumph that she felt, but a sense of relief. Humanity had shown the universe that they were no longer weak. They had declared themselves a force to be reckoned with. But this wasn't the end. No, it was just the beginning. The aliens had learned that humanity would never bow to anyone. Now the galaxy would know that when humans were cornered, they would not stay silent. They would fight back. The reckoning had only just begun. The turning tide, humanity's resilience, and the galaxy's fear. The alien fleet was in disarray. What had once been a formidable armada, sure of its superiority, was now broken and retreating. But the Vengeance warship and its human fleet did not allow their enemies the luxury of escape. They pressed forward, relentless in their pursuit, determined to wipe out any threat that dared to challenge Earth. The battle was far from over, and Captain Elijah Carter knew that victory would come at a cost. The enemy was learning. The first wave of strikes had stunned them, caught them off guard. But now, their strategy had shifted. They had begun to fight back more intelligently, more strategically. The enemy commanders were ruthless, calculating, and they weren't afraid to sacrifice their own to ensure the survival of their fleet. Yet, no matter how hard they tried to regroup, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they were chasing shadows. But this time, the humans were prepared. Earth's warships were not mere tools of destruction. They were symbols of ingenuity and adaptability. Unlike the alien fleet, which relied on brute strength and overwhelming firepower, humanity's strength lay in its ability to evolve on the fly. They were a species forged in hardship, constantly adapting and overcoming. Captain Carter stood at the helm of the Vengeance warship, her eyes scanning the battlefield with an intensity that betrayed the pressure weighing on her. Her crew was no less focused. They had seen their fair share of horrors, but nothing could shake their resolve. Not when their families, their homes, their entire way of life was at stake. They had made it this far, and there was no turning back now. "Keep pushing," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of a commander who had seen too much. "Don't let them regroup. Every second we delay them brings us closer to a future where Earth is free." The crew responded without hesitation. Every person aboard the warship had their role, from the engineers to the pilots, from the tacticians to the warriors. They all understood the stakes. They weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were protecting the future of the entire human race. The Vengeance warship surged forward, firing again and again, its weapons lighting up the darkness of space. Alien ships attempted to retaliate, but they were too slow, too predictable. Humanity's fleet had learned from the first encounter, and now it was the aliens who were falling behind. The alien commanders began to realize just how much they had underestimated their enemies. They had believed that humanity's strength lay in numbers. They had thought that Earth was just another world to conquer, another species to crush beneath their heel. But now, they were beginning to see the terrifying truth. Humans were unlike anything they had ever faced before. The Vengeance warship was relentless, every shot landing with precision. Alien ships were falling apart, their hulls shattered, their weapons useless against the sheer force of the human firepower. The Vengeance warship's shields flickered but never faltered. It was built to withstand the worst, to keep going even when the odds were impossible. And it was doing just that. "Captain," a voice crackled over the comms, "we've got another wave approaching, much larger this time. But there's something strange. They're not fighting like they did before. It's as if they're waiting for something." Captain Carter's eyes narrowed. Waiting. That was a word she did not like to hear. There was no telling what the alien fleet had up their sleeve, but she wouldn't let fear take control. Humanity's strength had always come from their ability to fight through the unknown, to face the unexpected with courage. "We don't stop. We don't give them the chance," she replied firmly. "Prepare to engage." As the massive alien reinforcements arrived, they were met with a new strategy. The human ships began to move in unison, their formations tight and coordinated, a blur of movement that confounded the enemy. The alien ships tried to overwhelm them with sheer numbers, but every move they made was anticipated. Every tactic they attempted was countered before they could even execute it. On the battlefield, humanity's superior strategy was evident. The aliens had believed they could crush Earth with their overwhelming might, but they had forgotten one key thing. Humans were survivors. Humans didn't just fight. They adapted. They learned. They used what they had at their disposal and turned it into their greatest weapon. Captain Carter's hand gripped the console in front of her. The tension in the air was thick, but she remained focused. She had seen this before. She knew what it meant. The alien fleet had started to panic. They could feel the tide turning. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight, and now they were paying the price. It wasn't just the technology of Earth's warships that was turning the tide. It was the humans themselves, the fearlessness, the unyielding resolve. Humanity had always been a species defined by its will to survive, no matter the cost. They had faced extinction countless times throughout their history, and they had always risen from the ashes. And now, that same spirit was on full display. The aliens tried to regroup, to reorganize, but the fear had already taken root. They had seen the Vengeance warship tear through their ranks like a blade through cloth, and they knew they were no longer the dominant force. The idea that Earth was weak, that humanity could be easily conquered, it was all falling apart. The human fleet pressed forward, every ship operating with a level of precision and efficiency that the aliens couldn't match. They fought not for glory or power, but for their future, for the ones they loved, for the very essence of what it meant to be human. And with each alien ship that fell, each battle won, humanity's resolve grew stronger. The Vengeance warship fired one final blast, and the lead alien ship exploded in a spectacular display of light and fire. The rest of the fleet faltered, their morale shattered. They were no longer fighting to conquer. They were fighting to survive. But it was too late. Humanity had already won. The Vengeance unleashed. The final confrontation. The space above Earth had turned into a battlefield, a vast expanse where the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The once mighty alien fleet, their pride shattered and their morale crushed, now faced the full fury of Earth's warships. Captain Alicia Carter stood at the helm of the Vengeance warship, eyes fixed on the fractured remnants of the enemy armada. This was it, the final showdown. The battle had raged on for hours, and each moment had seemed like an eternity. Humanity had endured, and now the end was in sight. But Carter knew that victory wasn't guaranteed. The alien commanders were desperate, and desperate foes were often the most dangerous. They would not go down without a fight. "Captain, the enemy's flagship is retreating. It's trying to escape the battlefield," came a voice over the comms. Alicia's heart skipped a beat. The flagship, the symbol of the aliens' power and command, was attempting to flee. This was their last chance. If they let it escape, they would only be allowing the enemy to regroup and return stronger than ever. The war would drag on for years, and Earth's forces would face endless retaliation. "Seal off all exits. We're going after them," Carter ordered without hesitation. Her crew, ever loyal and unwavering, moved with practiced precision. The Vengeance warship, along with the remaining human fleet, pivoted, redirecting their firepower toward the retreating flagship. The alien ship was massive, its weapons more advanced than anything humanity had encountered before. But it wasn't invincible. No ship could be, not against the relentless force of Earth's vengeance. The flagship's engines flared as it accelerated, trying to distance itself from the pursuing warships. But humanity was relentless. Their warships, though smaller, were faster and more maneuverable, exploiting every advantage their fleet had honed over the course of the war. The flagship fired its powerful weapons, but the human ships were quick, weaving through the blasts with uncanny agility. "Target their engines. We can't let them escape," Carter instructed, her voice sharp and commanding. The crew worked in unison, locking onto the alien flagship's propulsion systems with deadly accuracy. The first volley hit, shaking the enemy ship. But it wasn't enough. The aliens were fighting to survive, and their ship's defenses were holding steady. Carter's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the gap between the two fleets narrow. "Captain," came the voice of her chief tactician, "we have one shot. Their main weapon is charging up. It's their last resort. If we don't destroy them now, they'll take out our entire fleet." The tension was palpable. One mistake, one miscalculation, and humanity's entire fleet could be wiped out in an instant. There was no room for error. But in a final desperate attempt to escape, the flagship turned sharply, attempting to break free from the battle. But it was too late. Humanity's fleet, led by the Vengeance warship, had already closed in. With one final coordinated strike, the human fleet unleashed a devastating barrage of missiles, lasers, and plasma charges at the alien flagship. The explosion was cataclysmic, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The flagship, once a symbol of alien might, was obliterated in a fiery explosion that lit up the darkness of space. The shock of the destruction rippled across the alien fleet. The survivors, already battered and broken, began to retreat in a full-scale panic. It was over. Humanity had won. The Vengeance warship drifted in the aftermath, its hull scorched and battered but still intact. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. Many ships had been lost, and many lives had been sacrificed. Yet in the end, humanity had prevailed. They had faced an overwhelming enemy, one far more powerful than anything Earth had ever known, and they had turned the tide with their resilience, their ingenuity, and their unshakable will to survive. Captain Carter stood in silence, her eyes staring out into the vastness of space. The war was over, but it had changed everything. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. They had shown the universe what it meant to challenge Earth, to underestimate its people, and they had paid the price for it. "Prepare for the return to Earth," Captain Carter said softly. "Let's bring our people home." As the human fleet began its journey back to Earth, they carried with them not just the victory, but a message to the rest of the galaxy: never underestimate humanity. In this part, humanity's relentless pursuit of victory culminates in the destruction of the alien flagship, ending the war and cementing Earth's place as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. It shows how, despite overwhelming odds, humanity's strategic brilliance and determination led to an undeniable victory. The aftermath: a new dawn for humanity. The return to Earth was solemn. The once vibrant Earth, now scared by the war, welcomed its heroes back. The warships, battered and broken, slowly descended into the atmosphere, their hulls glowing from the heat of re-entry. But the true battle had been won. Humanity had triumphed against an enemy that once believed Earth was a mere footnote in the galaxy. Captain Alicia Carter stood in the command room of the Vengeance warship, looking out at the blue and green planet below. Earth had always been their home, but now it felt different. War had reshaped the world, and the scars of conflict were deep. Yet there was a sense of pride that came with their victory. Humanity had fought to survive, and against all odds, they had not just survived. They had conquered. The war was over, but the work was far from done. The alien threat was vanquished, but humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever. No longer were they seen as a small, insignificant species, hidden away on a distant planet. The galaxy had watched humanity rise from the ashes, and now they would never forget it. "Captain, Earth's defense systems are online. The war is officially over," came the voice of Lieutenant Jameson, a young officer who had been with Carter from the beginning. His voice was filled with both relief and exhaustion. "We've won, but we've lost so much," Carter replied, her gaze still fixed on the planet below. "Too many lives, too much sacrifice. This victory is bittersweet." Jameson nodded in agreement. "We knew the risks when we signed up, but seeing it in the aftermath, it's hard to grasp." His voice trailed off as he thought of all the comrades they had lost in the battle. Carter didn't respond immediately. She had always been the one to keep the crew's morale high, to push them through the darkest moments. But this victory, hard-earned and costly, felt heavier than anything she had ever carried before. "Prepare the fleet for landing," Carter said finally, her voice steady. "We return to Earth, but we have a new responsibility. We need to rebuild, we need to heal, and we need to show the galaxy that humanity doesn't just fight for survival. We fight for what's right." Back on Earth, the war's aftermath left the planet in a state of both mourning and celebration. The streets were filled with crowds, and the air was thick with emotion. The citizens of Earth had witnessed the rise of their heroes, and they greeted their returning soldiers as saviors. Yet, in their hearts, they knew that the scars of war would linger. Families had lost loved ones, entire cities had been destroyed, and the future seemed uncertain. But there was one thing that no one could deny. Humanity had proven its strength. The Vengeance warship touched down in the heart of what remained of Earth's Central Command. Carter's crew disembarked, their faces marked by both exhaustion and pride. They had accomplished the impossible. But as they walked into the base, they were met with the faces of Earth's leaders, who greeted them not just as soldiers, but as the saviors of an entire world. "You've done it, Captain," the general said as he shook Carter's hand. His voice was hoarse, filled with emotion. "You've turned the tide. Humanity owes you everything." Carter nodded, her expression somber. This victory was a collective effort. The strength of every soldier, every engineer, every scientist. We all played a part. And now, we rebuild together. The rebuilding process was slow, but humanity had always been resilient. The war had forced them to work together in ways they never had before. Old divisions were set aside, and the global unity that emerged was something the galaxy had never seen before. Earth, once vulnerable and overlooked, was now a symbol of strength and hope. But even as they rebuilt, the threat of the galaxy remained. The destruction of the alien fleet had sent ripples through the universe, and there were whispers of other forces watching, waiting to see if humanity's victory was an anomaly or a sign of something greater. "I'm glad we've won, but I can't help feeling like this is just the beginning," said Jameson, who had been at Carter's side throughout the war. Carter turned to face him. "You're right. This is just the beginning. But humanity has shown what it's capable of. No one will ever doubt us again." Weeks passed, and Earth began to recover. The scars of war slowly faded as humanity returned to their daily lives. But the people knew that their world had changed forever. The galaxy had seen their strength, and no one would ever look at Earth the same way again. In the midst of the rebuilding, Carter received a message. It was a transmission from an unknown source, encrypted beyond anything the human military had ever seen. The message was short and direct. "You've won this battle, but the war is far from over." The transmission ended abruptly, and Carter stared at the message for a long moment. It was a warning, one that sent a chill down her spine. The aliens they had fought were only a small part of a much larger, much more dangerous universe. The victory was theirs, but the future of humanity would not be defined by this one war alone. "We'll be ready," Carter whispered to herself. "Humanity is ready." As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, humanity's resolve grew stronger. They had faced the impossible and come out victorious. But in their hearts, they knew that the true test was yet to come. They had proven their strength, but the galaxy was a vast, unknown expanse, and they were ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Humanity had been silent for far too long, but now they had spoken, and their message was clear. "We are not weak. We are not afraid. We will fight for our future, no matter the cost." This part delves into the aftermath of the war, showing humanity's triumph and the difficult road ahead. It highlights the themes of resilience, unity, and the recognition of Earth's newfound strength in the galaxy. It also teases the looming challenges that humanity may face in the future, setting the stage for further adventures and conflicts. The calm after the vengeance, a new age of humanity. Months had passed since the war. Earth, now scared but resilient, had started to heal. The warships that had once carried humanity's vengeance were now nestled in secure bays, their hulks turned into symbols of pride, reminders of the strength it took to win the battle for Earth's survival. Yet, amidst the rebuilding, a strange stillness had settled over the planet. The kind of calm that always precedes something else. Something unknown. Captain Alicia Carter stood once again on the observation deck of the Vengeance warship, her eyes gazing over Earth's horizon. The city sprawled beneath her, lights twinkling like the stars she had seen in space, but there was a quietness now. No more constant threat. No more urgent missions. For the first time in a long while, she felt both a sense of peace and a strange unease. The alien fleets had been driven off, the galaxy's most powerful forces sent packing by the unexpected ferocity of humanity's military might. Yet something nagged at Carter, a feeling that this was far from the end. She had seen it before, in the eyes of her fellow soldiers, the quiet before the next storm. She wasn't wrong. A few days later, the signals began. It started as a faint, almost imperceptible hum through the military frequencies, a series of encrypted transmissions that didn't seem to come from any known alien race, a presence, almost invisible, watching Earth from the dark corners of the galaxy. It was subtle, but it was there, like a shadow looming just beyond the light. Lieutenant Jameson, ever the perceptive officer, had been one of the first to notice the pattern. "Captain, we've picked up a new signal. We've traced it back to a point beyond the known galactic territories," he reported one morning, his voice filled with both curiosity and concern. "A new enemy?" Carter asked, her voice low, though she was hardly surprised. The threat was always lurking, just out of sight. Jameson nodded gravely. "Possibly. Or something different." The quiet hum of the signal filled the room as Carter and Jameson stared at the glowing screens. The signal was not hostile. It was more like an invitation. An open thread, unraveling into the vast unknown, challenging humanity's newfound peace. An invitation. Carter's brow furrowed. To what? A meeting. Jameson hesitated, staring at the patterns. "It's not just an invitation. It's a challenge, Captain. It's calling us out." Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued. People celebrated the return of their soldiers, the families who had been torn apart now reunited. In the streets, there were festivals. There were stories of bravery, of triumph, of humanity's victory. Children ran through the streets, playing with toys made to look like the warships that had once soared through space. The world was rebuilding itself, piece by piece, growing stronger with each passing day. The fight had ended, but the memory of it, the pain, the loss, still lingered in the hearts of every human being. The war had cost them dearly, but it had also forged something stronger. It had forged an identity. But for Captain Carter, the past few days had been filled with a gnawing uncertainty. The invitation, the unknown force beyond the stars, wasn't something she could ignore. She had led humanity's forces into battle, had helped secure their victory, but now she had to face the next unknown chapter of their journey. It was clear that the galaxy wasn't done testing humanity. Not yet. "Prepare the fleet," Carter said firmly. "We've been silent for too long. The galaxy will know what we're capable of now. We face this challenge head-on. If they want to test us, we'll show them why they shouldn't." As the days passed, the signal became clearer. It wasn't just a call. It was a directive. Humanity was being invited to the edge of the galaxy, to a place where no Earth-born human had ever set foot. The coordinates were simple, almost too simple, directly into the heart of an ancient star system, one that had been forgotten by time. Carter knew deep in her bones, that this wasn't just an invitation to speak or negotiate. The unknown force that was calling to them wasn't looking for peace. It was a challenge to humanity's very identity. They wanted to test the strength of the species that had shaken the foundations of galactic warfare. But Carter also knew that humanity was ready. They had been underestimated once before. And now, the galaxy would see the true power of Earth. The fleet assembled, preparing for the long journey to the unknown. Their destination was clear, but everything else was uncertain. As the warships lifted off from Earth's surface, a sense of anticipation spread among the crew. The battle may have been won, but the fight for humanity's place in the galaxy had just begun. Captain Carter walked through the corridors of the Vengeance warship, her boots clicking against the metal floors. She had been through so much, and yet she felt as though this was only the beginning. She stopped before the crew, her voice steady, but filled with resolve. Humanity has fought for its survival. We've shown the galaxy that we will not be silenced, that we will not kneel. Now we show them something more. We show them what it truly means to be human. We are not just survivors. We are the future, and we are ready. As the fleet moved deeper into the galaxy, towards the unknown, Captain Carter could only wonder what awaited them. There were whispers in the dark corners of space, but one thing was certain. Humanity would face whatever came with the same resilience, the same fiery spirit that had gotten them through the darkest days of the war. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity had struck back. But no one could predict what lay ahead.